Call the meeting order. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open Public Meetings Act statement, please.
Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting was forwarded to the official township newspapers, posted on the bulletin board and township website on November 3rd, 2022. This meeting is being videotaped and will be on Channel 9.
We'll start with the three resolutions. We're going to start with Resolution R 21123. Roll call, I'm sorry. Matt, you got to do roll call.
Yes, sir. Mr. Doyle?
Here.
Mr. Marsh?
Here.
Mr. Keene?
Here.
Mayor Burnham?
Here. I'll try it again. We'll start with Resolution R 21123, appointing Cody Elliott to the position of police officer 5th class in the Franklin Township Police Department. Matt, do you have anything you want to say? Or?
Sure, you want to approve first, you want to say what I have to say?
I just wanted to ask you a
Sure, you can go do what you're going to do.
question. Motion to approve. 211-23.
Second.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Keene?
Yes.
Mayor Burnham?
Yes. All right, Cody, you want to come over your family? All right, I want to welcome Cody to the police department. I'd like to read a short bio on him. First, I'd like to thank the Township Committee for their continued support in public safety and backfilling some of these positions that we recently lost. They are always supportive of us, and I really appreciate that. Cody Elliott was born and raised in Kentucky and attended Ball State University in Indiana on a baseball scholarship. Cody majored in criminal justice and met his wife. While in college, he was from Franklin Township. Cody was fortunate enough to be drafted by the Cleveland Indians in the 2011 Major League Baseball draft and later played in their minor league system. Following his baseball career, Cody joined the Albuquerque Police Department in New Mexico and later transferred to the Delaware River Port Authority, where he has over 10 years of law enforcement experience. Cody resides in Franklin Township with his wife Kristen and 4 children, Eli, Avery, Hadley, and Kinley. He looks forward to serving the community he lives in and being part of this great police department.
You take the official oath. Use your name, right as mine. I, Jay Crudo,
I, Cody Elliott,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties of police officer
perform all the duties of police officer
for the Franklin Township Police Department
with Franklin Township Police Department
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the
of
Constitution
the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the government established in the United States
in this state
and the state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Make a motion on resolution 21223, appointing Tyler Kozlowski to the position of police officer 1st class in the Franklin Township Police Department. Motion to approve R-212-23.
Second.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Keene?
Yes.
Mayor Burnham?
Yes.
Come over your family. All right, I want to welcome Tyler to the police department. Tyler was born and raised in Williamstown, New Jersey, to his parents, Tammy and Michael. Tammy dedicated over 25 years of service to Gloucester County and police dispatch, and Michael served as the county's senior radio technician for police communications. Tyler has 3 siblings and attended high school at GCIT, where he played soccer. After high school, Tyler attended Rowan University, majoring in biology. Tyler is a certified EMT and in 2023 graduated from the Cape May County Police Academy. Tyler comes to us from the Wildwood Police Department, where he was a Class 2 Special Officer. Tyler met his fiancee Lindsay while in high school, and he currently resides in Williams County. Tyler is eager to begin his career protecting the residents of Franklin County.
You got to use your name right. G. Bruno,
I, Tyler Kozlowski,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of a police officer
all the duties of a police officer
for the Franklin Township Police Department
for the Franklin Township Police
to the
Department
best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established
and to the governments
in the
established
United States
of the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Motion on resolution 213-23, appointing Basin Tessier to the position of police officer first class in the Franklin Township Police Department.
Motion to approve R-213-23.
Second.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Keane?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes.
All right, Mason, you were calling me family? All right, welcome Mason to the Police Department. Mason was born and raised in Delmar, New Jersey, and has 2 older brothers and 2 younger brothers. His mom is a respiratory therapist, and his dad is a sergeant with the Delmar Police Department. Since Mason was little, he always wanted to be a police officer, just like his dad. He graduated from Triton High School and has an associate's degree in criminal justice from Camden County College. In June, he graduated from the Camden County Police Academy and then served as a patrol officer for the Camden County Police Department. Mason is a car enthusiast and enjoys working out in his spare time.
Big one's on the top. There you go. Use your name, Mason, you use your name, I use mine. I, Jake Bruno,
I, Mason Tessier,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of police officer
all the duties of a police officer
for the Franklin Township Police Department
for the Franklin Township Police Department
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments
in the
established
United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Take a motion to approve resolution 214-23, appointing David Palestina to the position of full-time Escalio 2 police officer in the Franklin Township Police Department.
Make a motion to approve R-214-23.
Second.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Keane?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes.
David, you were calling me family. All right, I want to welcome David to the Police Department. David is from Mullet Hill, New Jersey, and graduated from Clearview Regional High School in 2015. After high school, he attended Rowan College of South Jersey and later transferred to Rowan University to study criminal justice and business. Prior to being hired in Franklin Township, David served as a SLEO 1 Special Officer for the Ocean City Police Department during the summer of 2022. He then attended the Cape May County Police Academy in the spring of 2023 and graduated as a SLEO 2 Special Officer, where he worked the summer for the Ocean City Police Department. While off-duty, he enjoys outdoor activities such as hiking, camping, hunting, and snowboarding. He also loves spending time with his family, friends, and his girlfriend, Christina. He feels this is a great honor to have this opportunity to serve and protect the community of Franklin Township.
Put your name on the Bible, raise your right hand.
Left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand.
Use your name, I use mine, Dave. I, Jake Bruno,
I, David Palestine,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
partially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of SLEO 2 police officer
of CO2 police officer
for the Franklin Township Police Department
for the Franklin Township Police Department
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
of the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. We're gonna take a 10-minute break, clear the room. Matt, you wanna get photos or whatever? And then we'll resume in about 10 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Any motion to open the first public portion for resolutions and ordinances below? Motion to open the first public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good evening. Cindy Merckx, 330 Oak Ave, Malaga. I have just a couple questions on the agenda, all right? I'm sorry. My first one is regarding your authorizing, let's see, it's R201-23. That's the Lacey Ray Basin. And just a couple questions on it, maybe somebody can answer. In 2022, on the appropriations list of our budget, we had money from the American Rescue Plan for Lacey Ray and the Franklinville Dam in the amount of $225,000. So then when we see this resolution, the way it's worded, we're giving $141,450 to the person doing the work. What I'm trying to find out is this held over from the 2022 budget? Is that what's going on with that?
Yes, we did hold it over.
So we held it over for them?
Because what was happening was, we had to put everything through the New Jersey DEP.
Okay.
We never gave approvals, we had budgeted the money, and then we waited, and there is a chance that there could be change orders based on that bid, once they get in there, dig it all out and start, so the money has been held over from 22, but we were waiting on approvals to start, which we couldn't start anything without the DEP.
So that's why I was in the 22 budget for the 225. Did we do Franklinville Dam? Has that one been held up too, or?
The inspections are done on both.
Right, I know,
plants.
right.
Yeah, but the
The actual work.
Lacey Ray is actually the retention basin.
Right. Is there any, I haven't seen any reports from the engineer. And, in most towns, the engineer usually comes to the, the committee and answer these types of questions. He's not here to answer them. But what exactly needs to be done to that basin?
The Lacey Ray,
Yes.
a complete redo. It was not based on what the engineers have found, it was never installed properly.
Okay.
And there's multiple ones in town probably that are the same way.
Oh, absolutely. Right.
Nicholas Drive, Sunny Hill Drive, so they're all gonna be coming next, but the DEP wants to do one at a time, so that's where we started with this, but it takes a process where they have to go in, they have to do all the studying, and then once it's sent to DEP, our lady turns around and stops it.
Are the engineers' reports on file as to what they're going to, what their recommendations were and,
Yes.
okay, and all the other basins as well, or?
We haven't done any in-depth studies in all the other basins, but we're gonna start.
I mean, I know we have engineers who have done those other basins
Yes.
before and determined that they were. I guess my next question is was there any, I mean, you obviously have seen the report. Was there any concern with the Scotland Run branch coming through that area? And has it expanded to the point that it's encroaching more on homes?
Well, that was all taken into consideration with the DEP, so that's why the design changed several times to make sure that there isn't any issue infiltrating into the.
As well as coming over that,
Correct.
because it seems as if some of the, there's quite a few homes that were built there, and I just wasn't sure what the engineer's report was. Like I said, it would be nice if they came in the future. Maybe we can get them to come to some of the meetings, so that way, we go to the meetings, but we don't hear, what I'm saying, what's going on. So that was my one question on that. Thank you for answering that. My other question is with the audit. I see you were going to certify and accept the annual audit. Were there any recommendations made for this year? Way to go. Okay, after last year? Yeah, that's nice to hear. I'm glad to hear that one. And then there was one more. On the back page here, we have the street vacation request. And I just want to say that I'm just concerned with it because it just has a little bit here and there about it. But I was, after the findings we had with the Brown property and Mr. and Mrs. Mangini, I guess I'm concerned about street vacations, and maybe you could look more into it. I don't know if you want to table it or all, but it doesn't say enough about what we're going to do in that situation, because there's so many little streets all over this place with a lot of developments. And knowing what happened to them and how they had to go and all the things that they were faced with, I just don't think it addresses enough of it. And maybe you'd want to look at that more. It just doesn't seem like the resolution has enough into it. Maybe there is more, but that was my only questions. Thank you.
Good evening, Leah Vassallo, 560 Delsey Drive. I just had two quick questions. One is Resolution 207-23, authorizing a refund to Vision Solar LLC. What is that refund and who's Vision Solar?
They backed out of the solar job for residents.
I'm sorry?
They paid for permitting and all that.
Okay.
And backed out of the job.
Okay. And then the other one is related to the Ordinance 1723, street vacation requests. Are there requests that are currently pending?
There were a few. This is something that we probably not going to talk about that, probably going to table it.
Okay.
Put it with the master plan reexamination.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
Mayor,
right.
I would concur, I'm sorry to interrupt,
No, go ahead.
that there are some minor issues addressed here, but there are global issues that would probably be best if we just did it as a global resolution, a global settlement of this issue as opposed to just addressing one or two issues and having to do it again. So I couldn't agree more.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Harry Kennedy, 1578 Friars Mill Road. I'm sorry, my question was in reference to the audit which you're going to accept tonight. Did I hear the solicitor say there were no recommendations whatsoever in the audit?
He said, I didn't say it. Mr. Finley said it.
There were no recommendations at all?
No deficiencies found.
No deficiencies found? Does that mean that no deficiencies existed or that none were found, I guess?
I would say it's both.
Oh, good. I was going to bring one particular thing to light, which I've discussed with you before, and it might be appropriate to discuss it at this time. You probably remember that you switched your zoning engineer this year from CME to Shadik Schaefer and Nasib, which I believe you weren't here that night, Mr. Mayor, when I asked all the existing Township Committee people that were here at that meeting that night if they knew who they were. They did not. Mr. Shadig visited the Starcross Fire Hall on Election Day and made a cash contribution to Mr. Deegan, who took that cash contribution and was a Township Committeeman at that time. Now, it would seem to me whether that was pay to play or not pay to play, I guess would be left to the eye of the beholder. But I believe every other engineering firm probably made a contribution that had an appointment with Franklin Township. For some reason, Shadik, Schaefer, and Nassib did not appear as making a contribution. Mr. Deegan claimed it was a $1,200 cash contribution that he made. And again, Mr. Deegan, as we're probably aware, has just settled with the State Department of Ethical Review for 7 violations. However, this one hasn't been examined yet. And again, I'm not going to ask your solicitor where the appropriate place to go on this particular one would be. Whether it would be a violation of pay to play, whether it would be a violation of campaign finance laws, whether it would be somewhat more serious than that. But again, you're somehow or another, your auditor missed it. But then again, if he didn't know that that transaction took place, it would be very easy to miss. Auditors are a lot like computers, Jonathan, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't know all the factors involved, you can't make a informed decision. You'll remember that your last recommendation from the auditor talked about all the deficiencies that you had in pay to play. Again, this one wasn't caught. And the only question is now, I will be happy to pursue it. I'm not asking you to pursue it. I know Mr. Deegan is your chairman, and I know despite his 7 transgressions in regards to the ethics law, that's not your purview to take any action here as Township Committeeman. But he was a sitting Township Committeeman at that time when that contribution took place. And he did claim that he himself made a $1,200 contribution. Now, you can sit here and believe that Shadik, Schaefer, and Nassib got an appointment from Franklin Township without making a political contribution. You can choose to believe that if you want to, but I suggest that you wait for Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, and everybody else to come hippity-hopping into the room, because that is not quite the fact. And again, because the auditor missed it, because it's not your job to find out, the auditor missed it because it wasn't declared, I will be happy to pursue it. But that same recommendation should apply this year that applied last year. And that is that if you're going to be involved in pay to play, you have to make the declaration and make the statements. And I don't believe that we'll find any statement from Schaefer, Shadig, and Nassib as to any political contribution. Again, gentlemen, it's a small amount. $1,200 isn't a ton of money. It's just the simple fact of life. You cannot take political contributions, appoint people to a job, and not do the paperwork that's necessary. It's just not right. Thank you.
Good evening, gentlemen. Barbara Halpern, Harding Highway. I'm here to ask about the grants for cleanup of the U.S. gas. My search of the tax record showed that Seaville Fuels Incorporated owns that property. So why are we using township resources?
Because Seaville Fuels is no longer a viable company.
But who owns it?
Who owns Seaville Fuels?
No, who owns the property now?
There's actually a third-party lien against the property from a gentleman who was renting that property from Seaville Fuels. There's a deed that was filed probably almost 20 years ago in Gloucester County. He's never made any claim to it, but there's also a large amount of tax liens on the property that taxes haven't been paid for probably almost the same amount of time.
So are you planning on foreclosing? Because it seems ridiculous for us to pay for a cleanup on a property we don't own.
Well, that's why I'm getting a grant to see what it is so we can make a determination, because we have had people who are interested in the property, but before we can sell it, I need to know what's on the property. There is paperwork showing that it was cleaned up and the tanks removed, but I just want to make sure. So
Yeah, we've been working together on that to make sure that before we take title, that those issues are removed and cleared up so that we don't inherit that liability. So we're trying to trying to get to the end of that.
So will the grant pay for the environmental investigation of the site or an actual cleanup?
Both.
And what is our portion of that we would have to put in, because grants don't cover 100%?
$1,500.
That's all we would need, even though you haven't had the investigation to make sure that what that cost would be?
Yes.
Okay, and then you'll probably take possession of that property and resell it to someone else, is what you're saying?
Well, that would depend on what the report says and all that, and then I'll give it to the committee, and the committee will make the determination.
Now you have the other sites that are over where the old township landfill were. What's the situation with the grant for those? What are we planning to do on those?
Well, first of all, there was records showing that it was a landfill,
Yes.
and it's never properly been closed, so that's part of the grant, where they will actually go through the process of closing it for us. At no cost, again, it's $1,500. So I'm gonna let them do their work and give me the report, and we're not tied to doing anything. If we don't get the grant, we don't have to clean it up. So our cost is only $1,500 for them to give us everything that's there and what needs to be done and what they can do, and if the grant will cover it all.
Are you aware that I believe in the 1980s the township was sued because they sold property adjacent to that landfill? And the homeowners sued the township and the county for allowing a well there and a home to be built there. Do we have plans on selling these properties that are located on the actual landfill when we've already been sued regarding a property adjacent that the town owned and sold and had developed by someone?
No, but I'm not planning on doing anything until we find out what's with them. I mean, it could become open space also, just like it did down in Millville, but it's all dependent upon what they find with this grant research.
Yeah, because there is a concern that, as soon as there's a child born with some kind of issue, which is what happened in the other case, they would go ahead and sue the town, which would cost us, even if we don't lose, it'll cost us money to defend that, and they'll probably sue the county as well, who will have to spend money to defend that. Open space would be a preferable alternative, and the people in that area are already using those properties. There are trails through there. There has been some indiscriminate dumping, but it's not that bad, at least when I walked those properties to see what they were, because I visited all of our properties when I was the chair of the Environmental Commission to see what the situation was on all those properties and then make recommendations that which ones should be kept for open space. So, okay, well, if we're limiting it to 1,500 and we're just kind of investigating the situation and taking it from there, that's a lot better than, committing to spending a lot of money
Right.
on actually doing the cleanups.
This was a much better option than having our engineer do the investigation.
What's happening with Malaga Lake Park? Did you get a grant for Malaga Lake Park that you had talked about?
We still have not heard back from the county. I did put in for it to redo all the playground equipment there and actually add some handicap accessible equipment there.
Okay.
But the county has not done anything with the grants as of yet, so still waiting.
I did see some grants awarded at the county listed in the newspaper, and we weren't one of them, so you might want to, ask them if they're still reviewing those grants, because they may have awarded them already.
Okay. Brian and I have been keeping up on it, because Brian's been out there doing repairs, and finally we had to take the slide down because they damaged it beyond repair, so.
Well, the equipment's so old, and we haven't really invested in the park in over 30 years. And what about the Green Acres grant that we could get to do a real overhaul of the entire park?
We are going to look into that, but the problem with that is that we have to have matching funds, so we need to have a little bit more capital to have matching funds for grants like that.
Well, the grant matching funds come from the open space money. They don't come from the budget.
Right, but we won't have enough for what needs to be done for that whole park.
Okay, I thought we had a lot of money in the open space fund. We get $100,000 every year from taxpayers, don't we?
I'm not sure exactly
Yes.
how much. I can find
Yes,
out how much.
it's at least $100,000, if not more. The only thing we've been tapping it for that I'm aware of, unless there's things going on that are not being shown the light of day, is that we just pay for farmland preservation. And then we also need $200,000 to pay for Piney Hollow, but in light of how much money we collect every year and that this fund's been going on, I think, since the 90s, there should be lots of money in there, close to $1 million or more. At least, I believe last time I heard it was at least $700,000 that's in there. So working on the park with a matching grant, and wouldn't be that difficult to do at Malibu Lake Park. And I don't think it would be super expensive to follow the plan that we had the architect work on, that Suzanne McCarthy, when she was chair of the Environmental Commission, worked on a plan that really wouldn't be super expensive to do. And you can also tap people like Suzanne, like myself, like Environmental Commission members to help you with grants, with requirements for the grants, because I know how extensive they are. Suzanne and myself did 90% of the work to get the Piney Hollow grant. And, you know, we're here to help if you'll use us. And we know that it takes an awful lot, and you don't have the staff that you need to do all of that. So good luck to you. Thank you.
Good evening. Did you say you're not going to introduce the ordinance for the street vacation thing?
Well, it's up to the committee, but I would say we could have some more time to
Not likely to
have
be
more
introduced?
review.
Is that? Okay. I'll reserve my comments for later. Thank you.
Good evening. Chris Jones, 1605 Autumn Drive,
Nancy Jones.
same address. We just wanted, we live on Autumn Drive, and recently we've been struggling with a property. I'm sure everybody has heard about it. I just want to really recognize the police department, how they handled everything, how they helped us out, and we are very proud of our Franklin Township Police Department. I wish there were more cops here to hear it, that, you know, they don't hear it enough, and we're just thankful we have you guys, okay? And make sure, you know, the chief did relays that, you know, without you guys helping out, it would have been a real mess. So, all right, thank you so much.
I just want to say one thing, like, moving forward, we're not sure what's going to happen on our street, so we would kind of like, someone could help us out or give us some direction on how to not have this continue next summer. Prepare. Perfect.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And please, thanks to guys, your officers.
I get a motion to close the first public portion. Close the first public portion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I get a motion to approve correspondence and reports. Motion to approve correspondence and reports.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I get a motion to approve the minutes from August 8, 2023.
Motion to approve the minutes from August 8, 2023.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I get a motion to approve the bill list.
Motion to approve the bill list.
Second.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve raffle license?
Motion to approve the license.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Resolution 19923, authorizing fireworks display by Pyrotechnics for Franklin Township Community Day.
Motion to approve R 199-23.
Second. Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Any motion to approve resolution 223, authorizing the execution of a commodity resale agreement with the County of Gloucester.
Motion to approve the R 223.
Second.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Resolution 20123, authorizing the award of contract with Ncri Construction for reconstruction of the Lacey Drive Basin Mitigation.
Motion to approve R 201-23.
Second.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Resolution 20223, acknowledging and directing Township Administrator to transfer title from Franklin Township Patrol Vehicle 1120 to Franklin Board of Fire Commissioners for $1,800 pursuant to NJSA 281136.
Motion to approve R-202-23.
Second.
Mr. Doyle? Yes. Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Resolution 20323, acknowledging and directing Township Administrator to transfer title from Franklin Township Patrol Vehicle 1108 to Franklin Board of Fire Commission for $1 pursuant to NJSA 481136.
Motion to approve R-203-23.
Second.
Mr. Doyle? Yes. Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Resolution 20423, acknowledging and directing Township Administrator to complete and submit an application for consideration of HDSRF, the Hazardous Discharge Site Remediation Fund Grant, Carmen Avenue properties.
Motion to approve R-204-23.
Second.
Mr. Doyle? Yes. Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Resolution 20523, acknowledging and directing Township Administrator to complete and submit an application for consideration for HDSRF, Hazardous Discharge Site Remediation Fund Grant, 724 Delsey Drive, USA Gas.
Motion to approve R-205-23.
Second.
Mr. Doyle? Yes. Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Resolution 20623, returning Lucy Works to part-time administrator intern for the Township of Franklin Joint Municipal Court.
Motion to approve R-206-23.
Second.
Mr. Doyle? Yes. Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Resolution 20723, authorizing a refund of business owner LLC.
Motion to approve R-207-23.
Second.
Mr. Doyle? Yes. Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Resolution 20823, approving the Governor's Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse fiscal year 25.
Motion to approve R-208-23.
Second.
Mr. Doyle? Yes. Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Resolution 20923, certifying and accepting annual audit.
Motion to approve R-209-23.
Second.
Mr. Doyle? Yes. Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Resolution 21023, rescinding petty cash funds.
Motion to approve R-210-23.
Second.
Mr. Doyle? Yes. Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Resolution 21523, granting junkyard license renewals.
Motion to approve R-215-23.
Second.
Mr. Doyle? Yes. Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Resolution 21623, authorizing tax collectors to refund overpayment taxes.
R-216-23.
Second.
Mr. Doyle? Yes. Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Resolution 21723, amending R-13723, authorizing tax collectors CFO to refund overpayment taxes.
Motion to introduce motion to approve R-217-23.
Second.
Mr. Doyle? Yes. Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Resolution 21823, authorizing tax collectors to grant tax exemption for totally disabled persons.
Motion to approve R-218-23.
Second.
Mr. Doyle? Yes. Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
There are 21923.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the ordinance.
I'm sorry.
It was on that paper. It was on the bottom.
Yes.
I get a motion to introduce the following ordinance. Public hearing will be held on October 10th, 2023. The ordinance is 1723, amending the established requirements for Chapter 339 entitled Street Vacation Request in the Township of Franklin.
motion to table ordinance 0-1723.
I second.
All in favor? Right, Matt?
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you. Can you motion to open the second public portion for any comments?
Motion to open the second public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I hate being on camera, so it's no privilege for me. What happened to Heather's? You guys didn't scare her away today, did you?
I think we did. No, she has tennis.
Oh, okay.
She's tennis coach. Down, I think, lower team there or something.
Oh, okay. So Chris Sayers, 184 Malaga Lake Boulevard. I had the privilege of attending the EDC meeting last week and recording it. And it mainly focused on the topic of renegotiating our redevelopment contract with Stanker and Galetto concerning Meredith Farms. Committee McKean was there. I believe, what's your title? The liaison, or are you part of the EDC committee? Liaison. So Committee McKean was there, and he told us, or at least to the commission, that Mayor Bruno and Administrator Finley approached Stanker and Galetto in hopes of offloading the property. That's his use of words. And that together with Mr. Lyons, they're in the process of renegotiating parts of the contract between the two parties. It sounds like great news because I know it's been a while since Meredith Farms was initiated. However, I was troubled by something that came up in the meeting. Apparently, the EDC, the members of the commission, claim to have been shut out of the process, despite the fact that they've always been a part of Meredith Farms negotiations in the past. Members of the board also claim to have been shut out of all business development processes lately. And Mr. Keen, in answer to their questions about that, said that now interested businesses go directly to Administrator Finley, who then advises them and redirects them to the planning board and zoning boards. So my question, I guess, for Mr. Finley or anybody on the committee, if you're willing to answer, is why the EDC, which don't get me wrong, there's no love lost between me and the EDC, but why is the EDC, which is open to the Republic and required to take minutes, not being used? I mean, using Mr. Finley as the sole conduit for economic development severely curtails transparency because he doesn't keep minutes and there's no open public viewing to view his meetings.
All right, you want to answer that, or?
I don't take anything from the EDC. Most of the time, their meetings are canceled. Anyone who comes in business-wise, I direct them to the zoning officer first, where they will look at, and then it goes from there with him. And as far as Meredith Farms, I don't remember approaching Stanker and Galetto. I believe that was on my desk when I came here in February of last year, already signed by Stanker and Galetto from 13 years ago. So I wasn't here 13 years ago to approach Stanker and Galetto about it. I'm just trying to clean up a contract that's been sitting for 13 years and not on the settlement.
So, I mean, the only concern is my whole issue has always been about transparency. And, you know,
The property sat there for
yeah, I know the
20
history.
years, okay? We cut the grass down there every few weeks or every month. We cut the grass. We're spending money, making $0 on the tax
Yeah.
line, okay? The township was supposed to do a bunch of things. The developer was supposed to do a bunch of things. Nobody did anything. Okay, so in an effort to try to move the property along, we asked them, we want to sell the property, but could you do something? And they made an offer based on the old contract. There was a price in
Yeah,
there.
Mayor, if you recall, back then, the EDC had referred to the committee about moving it off of ground zero because we had made improvements.
Year and a half.
Yeah, we had made improvements down there at significant costs, which were vandalized and stolen, and they asked us to move off of the contract, at which point that it was broached about our obligations, as you just referenced.
We called him
Things
to a
we need to
meeting
get.
and he wasn't very happy.
So, I mean, and again, that's fine. I mean, this is but as Mr. Keen, and I just quoted you from the video, so I don't mean to pick on you, but the 30,000-foot view is that businesses don't go to the EDC anymore; they go to Administrator Finley.
Any of the
And there's no minutes or records of
are done
meetings.
right here at the Township Committee now, where they're.
In the
They
end,
can go to Mr. Finley, they can go to the planning board or the zoning board, what it requires. I think the way we met was there was an EDC meeting that wasn't transparent, your vision.
Yeah.
Even though it was in the room and everybody was there. So you can't have it both ways.
No, it's not that.
Or you want to go to planning and zoning. I prefer to go to planning and zoning because it's totally transparent.
It's not that businesses have stopped coming to us. It's just they've stopped going to the body that's specifically supposed to oversee that. And again, it is a reduction in transparency.
Meredith Farms was already done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, Chris?
Yeah.
That was already done.
It's a
That's
legal
what they,
contractual issue. So a lawyer is contacting their lawyer. The EDC doesn't have any legal power or.
Yeah. May I ask one more question?
They wanted us to
statutory.
Yeah.
disband the EDC.
Yeah.
The room was full of people saying, get rid of them, basically burn them at the
Stomping
stake.
your feet.
Well, that was before I had the pleasure of meeting the gentleman of the EDC, and then I realized, wait a minute, they give us months of notification before a business comes into town before the planning board, whereas the planning board publishes an agenda 48 hours before the meeting, and then we have 48 hours to try and figure out what's going on in our town, whether or not we should approve or support it or whatever. But I just have one more question, if you can indulge me, because I know you guys were talking a lot during my time. So, I appreciate that.
Responding. We weren't chit-chatting, we were responding to your question.
So, Mr. Keene, also at the EDC meeting, highlighted two key amendments that Mr. Finley and Mayor Bruno, he cited them specifically. I'm not picking on them, I'm just saying what Mr. Keene had reiterated, that Mr. Finley and Mr. Bruno wanted passed in this new contract. One was removing the option of Stanker and Galetto to buy the property, and two, removing the 25% developer's fee for Stanker and Galetto because such a fee, and I quote Mr. Keene, pigeonholes us a little bit when it comes to looking for other individuals. Now, I know other individuals. I don't know what that means. So may I just finish one more sentence. So with this contract renegotiation coming about rather abruptly, and wanting to sever our financial obligations with Stanker and Galetto, have other businesses approached Administrator Finley or the mayor or any other committee members about wanting to develop Meredith Farms other than Stanker and Galetto? And if so, who? And again, because apparently people don't go to the EDC anymore, there's no minutes.
At this point,
I don't know who met with them.
we are a party to a contract, as is the redeveloper. We have contractual obligations. We're in a due diligence period. We're adhering to that. We're not going to sit here tonight and talk about undermining the contract that was entered into more than a decade ago. We are proceeding in good faith to close. Things come up between during due diligence and things don't close, but we are in good conscience and in good faith and fair dealing with the other party moving towards a settlement. We're not going to sit here and talk about some ways to undermine, or we have entered into this, again, inherited contract and are attempting to get it to closure. If it doesn't close for legitimate reasons, we'll revisit it and the governing body will have decisions to make at that point.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Harry Kennedy, 1578 Fry's Mill Road. Wow. I'm struck by the irony of the EDC and the discussion that took place and Mr. Finley's involvement in the negotiation. My God, does that sound somewhat ironic in terms of the redevelopment zone and what was discussed at the EDC and the minutes of that meeting and what came out and then what Mr. Finley decided, with I'm sure your approval, to go and negotiate. And Chris actually made an excellent point. And the point is this, that transparency and things that take place in public are subject to very strict checks and balances, all right? There's a record of what takes place, there are minutes of what takes place, and in some cases there are videos or audios of what take place. So it's a very, very secure transaction. What takes place in private, in a negotiation, where you're talking about a piece of property for redevelopment and you're doing privately, nobody sits in on that meeting. There are no minutes of it. There is no transparency. There is no backup. There is no ability to find out what happened. And as a matter of fact, it's really fascinating because My daughter just got through suing the township over Oprah's, a case which she won. And I believe that probably on your bill list tonight, you're reimbursing her attorney. What's fascinating about that is exactly what Chris Sayre said. The deliberative process, whatever the hell that is exempt from Oprah. Now, the deliberative process can be whatever some attorney decides it to be. It can be a euphemism for, oh, you caught us and we don't want to tell you what you caught us on, or it's a legal matter, or whatever. It's a euphemism for, we're not going to give you what you want to know. Well, maybe we'll decide that in a court of law. And again, it's pretty tough to have it both ways. Because if it's a deliberative process involving a court case, you either were involved in the court case and you're trying to influence it, or as a township committeeman, you have no power to do it. So it's pretty tough to figure out why it's a deliberative process. But the other thing I noted, and Barb's not here tonight, so I know you guys will pass it on, Matt, when you see Barb, let her know. As I went through my emails, I came across many emails that Rosemary gave me along the way very generously that somehow weren't included in the process of that Oprah. Ask Barb to very clearly check, make sure it's not a clerical error in terms of what was released and what was involved. And again, I would ask the deliberative process when you're suing a neighbor through the township, or when the zoning officer has made a sworn statement that you've had an enemies list and you've sent her after them, the deliberative process is a nice thing to hide behind. I have a feeling we'll decide that and adjudicate that with the judge again. Nice try. Again, there are 27 reasons why you can do it, and the deliberative process is the most specious of all. But again, Jake, it gets back to Chris Sayre's point. The deliberative process is now not available to anybody in the public. It's available to Matt Finley. Is that the same Matt Finley that did the redevelopment zone privately? I guess it is. Well, now we have no way of knowing what happened. There are no minutes. There's no audio. There's no video. There's no proof of what actually took place at the minutes. There's none. Again, I ask you, you run on transparency. You talk about transparency. You yell about transparency. Try to be transparent. And again, Jonathan, it's not your fault. Talk about being between a rock and a hard place. The liaison to the Economic Development Commission and a member of the Township Committee. Again, things that can be decided in public should be decided and discussed in public, because it affects every person's tax dollar, it affects everybody's money, and it affects, most importantly, Jake, the perception of your honesty and the Township Committee's honesty. And I don't think that's something that's held in very high regard by a lot of people.
Dave Marshall, 67 New Road, Malaga. I have a question first, and again, it goes back to the EDC meeting. One is there was a reference to the EDC meeting about another dollar store coming in our town.
This is a public portion for any comments, so I don't know about that.
So you have no knowledge of it, is what you're stating on record? Okay, that's why I'm asking.
Do you have a thing against dollar stores? Because I think you do.
I do, which we'll be talking about tonight.
It's on the recording.
Good, I'm glad, because there's a lot of neglect from your seat about it, and we're going to talk about that tonight, but you're going to get sarcastic with me. You have no idea, Jake, how deep you dig yourself sometimes just by opening your mouth.
Listen.
Go ahead, I'm listening. Educate me, please. Please.
You are.
I'm waiting. It's my time, but go ahead. I'm letting you educate me.
Give me a year, like 3 months, and then I'll educate you. I'm done with it.
Sign that up on a calendar somewhere, please. But as we go back to the dollar store, we'll skip that one and we'll go to the other one. The one that's near me that I've been pretty much trying to get addressed with the lights and the trash and other issues since the end of last year, but it started really heavy in January. Multiple times it was brought up at this meeting through emails. Things I was told were being taken care of had not been addressed. I have pictures to prove it. None of it was done. So then it came a court date. The court date came around, and unfortunately I couldn't attend because I didn't find out about it in time, but one of our neighbors did and recorded it. The gentleman asked who was representing the property, which was Ed Zippo, who was the owner. He said there's 2 infractions against you and both of them are dismissed because we found that it's been addressed. I had been there that morning, they were still present. I went there after work, which was an hour after the court date. They were still present. So they had not been addressed. They were still active, happening. At that point, I sent out pictures and multiple emails to every committee member up there. The only one that responded that had the dignity to do so was Mr. Marsh, and I appreciate that, thank you. I didn't even get an acknowledgement from the other three of you that you even received it. Not even, yes, I know this is going on, we're working on it. Ignoring the residents is how you want to be. Since this has been going on, I've had a lot of other residents throughout the town contacting me to see if I can voice things about what's going on, because they've had the same situation where they're being ignored. Or they're being told it's been addressed and it hasn't been. So what I'm asking is, being this is the case and the residents are getting ignored, I can prove it time and time again, and unfortunately it's from the same individual, what's going to get done about it? If we're being told things are being addressed and they're not, what happens at that point? Things that are not being addressed, but we're told they are, but they have not been. That's an employee issue that should be dealt with on your end. I'm wondering what we do as residents.
I think that the employee you're talking about did look into the issues you have with the dollar store, and I'm sure he has something he wants to report later. In the meeting, he'll have his chance to address those issues.
All right, so all the times that we were told it was addressed before that weren't, what about
There's
those?
nothing wrong, like, what, he did go out there, like, they were addressing your issue. Like, maybe it's not to your satisfaction, but they addressed your issue. They did everything, the developer did everything that he was supposed to do. The lights, everything else was to the plan.
Well, they're not actually.
Now, okay.
But that's not what my complaint isn't tonight about what.
We had come out today.
Right.
To look at that, told us otherwise.
Well, I've got a copy of the plan there, and I can show they weren't adhered to. But that's not what I'm here arguing about. I'm arguing about how I was basically misled multiple times about what was done.
I don't believe.
I've got pictures I sent you.
Mayor, if we're going to discuss the job performance of a specific employee, we're going to have to notify the employee in advance of that in order to do so. If there's public comment and somebody wants to make public comment regarding that, that's fine. But if the Township Committee is going to get into an extensive discussion on that, you're going to have to, there's a process we need to follow.
Well, I tried to address it through emails, and I was ignored. So where do I go? If the Township Committee ignores me, except for, again, Mr. Marsh, ignores a resident, flat out does not acknowledge they even sent him anything, where do I go as a resident? Mr. Lyons, I'm addressing you.
You're here now. You're at the Township.
And I just tried to, and you told me I can't.
No, I didn't tell you that. I told you the exact opposite. I said you can make your statements regarding the performance of the...
But if they don't respond back to me in an email form, where do I go to get response back? Because they can't tonight, you said.
I said they can't deal with a personnel matter.
I understood what you said, so I'm asking your advice on where do I go?
I'm not here to give you, I can't give you legal advice. I can tell you that you're allowed to make your statements, and the Township Committee is here to hear your statements regarding whatever township business you want to bring up.
I didn't want to get anybody legally involved. I wanted to be able to do this as a resident the right way, and I'm asking how do I go about that?
You've just done, my answer is you've done that. You're here advising the Township Committee of your comments and your observations regarding what has occurred.
And then what do I do? Wait for a response? What do I do from here?
I mean...
So I should expect a response back, is what you're saying?
I'm saying you've availed yourself to the right to speak in this public session and made those comments, and they're in the record. And what happens from there is will have to happen at a later time.
All right, so let me reword this. I came up and had a concern as a resident, doesn't matter, about anything, and it gets ignored. How do I go about getting it rectified? It doesn't have to be this issue, I'm just talking in general.
Again, you come here and make your statements.
I understand how to publicly talk about it. How do I get it rectified?
I can't answer that question. I don't know what you mean, what you consider rectified. So I can't give you a specific response to that general question. And I can't presume all the facts that you bring forward. Again, you're availing yourself of your right to speak in a public meeting, and the Township Committee will take it under advisement, under consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening, Renee Pistoia, Party, 2787 East Grand Avenue. The Meredith Farm issue. Mr. Marsh, I believe you were on EDC during a lot of the stuff going on in Meredith Farm, so perhaps maybe you can help Mr. Keenan and give him some inside information, because you were sitting through some of them meetings. Well, it's been going on for quite some time. But my understanding, and maybe Mr. Lyons or someone can also educate you, is that there was a lot of, the contract was not favorable towards the township, and that was brought up by a previous solicitor. So I think that had some of the issues. Plus there was well issues, plus there was grant issues. So there was a lot going on with Meredith Farms. So there's a lot that you need to, talk about and get with legal counsel. But they only brought...
The main issue is, as you said, was the well water issue. And that was not anticipated, I can only presume, it was not anticipated at the time the contract was entered into. I won't categorize it one way or the other, but the cost to produce safe drinking water on that site was excessive, beyond the scope of anything that was considered at that time. So that was the main issue that has led it to just sit there, all issues.
Correct, and there was a couple grants back and forth. So it's not something to enter into lightly, because the township gets sued for a lot of different things, and it's something, and we've been sued for other things, children and things like that. So I just thought maybe, since you were on there, Mike, that you could help Mr. Keenan out. Thank you.
Morris Strikeman, 1391 West Boulevard in Newfield, New Jersey, Franklin Township. At the last meeting, we talked about the affordable housing issue, and it was tabled. I was wondering when that's going to come back up for discussion. So it's indefinitely tabled? I thought there was a deadline for submission.
Matt, you want to tell him?
Yes, Mayor. It reported that event, the tabling, to the court. The court has extended our protections to 12/31, end of this year. I can't predict if they'll. I'm not overly confident they would be extended at any point beyond.
Will there be more discussion on it? I mean, there's questions.
There will be more sessions, right, on the other parts of the ordinance?
So the Township Committee will, the decision or the consideration will be to either bring it back, as we discussed it last time, for formal action, or to simply allow our protections to expire. So that's where the matter sits at this point. And again, we are now almost 8 years into a 10-year protection cycle, the third round, the third phase. So there's only 2 years remaining in it. But that's the decision point that'll be in front of the governing body.
All right, thank you.
Take a motion to close this second public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Committee reports. John?
So environmental, we have found a secretary for the environmental committee. So Administrator Mr. Finley, if you could introduce the secretary to Chairman Stifford. That'd be good, thank you. EDC met, discussed Meredith Farm amendments. I asked council about LSA credits in section 4. Council, if you had time to research that, they just asked yesterday in the afternoon, so.
Yeah, no, I'll have to
Communications will meet tomorrow, discuss the website and analytics. The communication chair requested to email all other chairs so that you could communicate with them and update the websites and minutes appropriately. Have we gone out to bid for the equipment, Mr. Finley, for the communications, the recordings of this room yet?
I'm sorry.
The communications equipment for this room, we don't have to bid on that yet.
We have not, because the capital bond has not been purchased yet.
Okay. And then I believe that the chairman sent over or requested specifications of what was going to be looked into in the community adaptation.
I haven't done it yet until we get the bond, because if the bond isn't actually purchased by anybody, we're not going to get it purchased.
Okay. And so we had the audit exit conference. We attended that with our auditors. Just want to read a couple excerpts from this. So one of the things that we have from our auditors is just a quote here. Auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America require that they plan and perform the audit to detect material misstatements and financial statements whether caused by error or fraud. It is important to note that fraud risk factors do not necessarily indicate the existence of fraud. The result of our audit not disclose the existence of any material misstatements in the financial statements caused by error or fraud. Also, based upon the results of the audit, no material weaknesses related to internal control or matters of non-compliance with applicable laws and regulations were identified that would require formal corrective action by the governing body. This was talked about already previously, but just quoting exactly what the auditor was able to provide for us. And I'll get that. Please start off.
Tim?
We can point out public works has been going around, cleaning up the weeds, cleaning up the parks. Naga Lake Parks have a mission to slide, pick the slide, pick the slide, off the slide, put the slide down, so it's hurt by residents are complaining. Public works will put that slide back on the dedicated, but we're going to require it. Hopefully, that makes all the equipment, so it matters, so unfortunately, the slide's not there. I want to point out I have a budget on the library on my kids, how great the staff is, the air conditioners are working great. 60-degree day was probably 75 in there, maybe. It wasn't really bearable, if everybody was complaining, doing a great job, and a great job for the kids, and activities. And, just nice to see people that dealing with the problem and not complaining. That's all.
Community Day, Recreation Committee, I've been talking to members of the Recreation. They're full we're ready to go for September 23rd for Community Day. Hope everyone can make it. The time and effort that's put into this event is, I can't explain it, can't put it in words. So I'm hoping everyone comes out and shows their support to the Recreation Committee.
Yeah, so I was basically nothing. So, with that said, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.